Thank you. Go.
Hi, Miguel. How are you?
I think I can hear you guys now.
Can you hear us?
Oh yeah, yeah, we can hear.
Can you guys hear me?
Awesome.
Yeah, all good.
Yeah, now we can hear you.
Hello, and welcome to this new series from Qualcomm on the future of. Today, I am joined by three amazing panelists to discuss safely and in a hybrid way.
Hi, thanks, Carolina. My name is Alex Katuzian. I'm the SVP and GM of the Mobile Compute and Infrastructure Business Unit here at Qualcomm.
Hi, I'm Miguel Nunes. I'm in the compute team at Qualcomm. I manage our compute product business.
And Tom Butler with Lenovo. So I'm the executive director of the commercial portfolio. So I have global responsibility for the devices that we build and deploy worldwide.
We're joking and trying to be lighthearted about the year that we just experienced, but there was a lot of sadness and a lot of emotions and a lot of learnings. And from a business perspective, we're here to talk about the PC that during last year had a bit of a resurgence. And so I want to start with chatting with Tom about this, about how not just sales went up, but the relationship that we had with our PCs changed. Do you think this is here to stay, Tom?
Yeah, it's a great question, Carolina. So certainly the pandemic triggered unprecedented disruptions in everything we do, work, life, social connections. And really, it forced everything to home. We moved immediately out of the office to work from home. Education became a in place at home environment, and that changed really everything that we do. Certainly, we see a very positive outlook, in terms of sales this past year and the demand, but we see also sustained demand on the future for PC and cloud requirements, and it's really driven by this resurgence of the PC being the centerpiece. No longer is it just sort of an anecdotal use from the home, but it's now become the device we're all going to many hours of the day to make these connections, whether it's for education, work, or for social connection as well. And so we see really three key areas that are driving and are going to continue to sustain the demand. And the first is this maintaining of a hybrid environment. So even as we come out, ideally very soon to a new normal, we're still going to be moving into a hybrid work environment where we're going to be working from home sometimes. We'll have e-learning taking place and certainly play from home and maintaining the e-commerce and then social connections. And secondly, where we see, and especially mature markets where affordability is less of an issue, we're seeing more of a trend of one PC per person versus one PC per household. Historically, you might have been able, a family could just come in and have a central PC device, but now with everyone needing to connect, in most cases simultaneously, we're seeing many more of this, one PC per person. And then finally, the third thing that's really driving us is IT spending is on the rebound. We're seeing recovery. We're seeing businesses now open up again, make additional investments and expansions. And so that's also driving significant momentum for the PC space.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more that the relationship with the PC has changed, and for all the reasons that you mentioned. And it's funny, as I look at our picture of today, we could actually be an ad for the future of hybrid work, because we are relying on technology, we are using our PCs, and we are two of us are safely in a room, but we're still trying to connect and continue to find that moment of brainstorming and empowering conversations. Tom just talked about what changed from a user perspective during the year. Alex, I want to come to you to talk about the industry, because a lot of changes happen in the industry as well. And many of those changes, you were an active part, from the higher importance of silicon and silicon diversity and the role that you started to play more predominantly in the PC market, to acquisitions that help differentiate at a silicon level. What are some of the things that you want to really talk about, and also how do you think that some of these changes are going to impact the next 12 to 18 months of the industry?
Yeah, very good question. So we see the PC becoming more of a central communications device. We used to do our work offline on a PC. Now everything is online. Look at the way we're connecting today. It's the essential device that you go to where you're going to have video conferencing. Your audio is going to be important. The camera integration on the PC is going to become important. Noise cancellation around you is going to be important. AI functions in the PC is going to become important. And so I think what we do essentially for the mobile world, we can start to transfer some of those functions and features to the PC world. And because the portability and security of that PC is so important, we think we can play a big role in making that happen. And as people have the freedom to work hybrid and be able to work securely from any location, so that they're not connected to the Wi-Fi at the home, or they can go anywhere with cellular connectivity. We deem this as an essential device that Qualcomm can play into and work with the ecosystem, our partners like Lenovo and others, to bring that capability, those capabilities into the PC, not only for the consumer, but for the enterprises and commercial businesses as well. We deem this as a big opportunity for us. And we're very glad that we can contribute to the ecosystem and help it grow as an essential device to communicate, do your work on from anywhere, any place, and have it portable enough to be able to carry it without even thinking about the weight or the battery life.
It's fascinating that, in a year where we spent most of our time at home, we still got to worry about connectivity and you preaching to the choir as far as the importance of connectivity in the future. But I wanted to ask Miguel specifically about the role of 5G within the PC ecosystem going forward. What do you think are some of the benefits? And clearly you believe in this category, and you're putting a lot of R&D and spent behind it. What are the things that, both from an enterprise and consumer perspective, we're really going to find beneficial in our experience?
And just to build on what you said with how important connectivity is becoming the home over the past year, we think 5G is really going to transform what a network is. Before, you had to go to the office because that's where you had the bandwidth to do your work. We think, at least on the commercial side, it's going to remove the boundaries of the enterprise. The enterprise is everywhere because now you have the capability and the bandwidth and the low latency to do everything you could do when you were physically in the office. And then, the other thing it's going to solve even in the home is, I think we've all learned bandwidth isn't unlimited, even in the home. I think we've all experienced that. And especially when everybody's in the home, that becomes even more complicated. And I think you're seeing some aspects of that is bandwidth, some aspects of that is just quality of service of that connection. And as you do more and you want that, enterprise-grade connection, that low latency, high quality connection, even in the home, that's where 5G is going to solve that. Home networking is still, there's a lot of use cases, but we think even 5G in your home is going to give you that high quality of your work connection. And so we think that's super important. And we also think it gives commercial businesses the ability to have a work connection that's separate from your home connection for security reasons, manageability reasons, whatever Absolutely. The case, it's not your shared connection. And it gives you the mobility, right? The total freedom, mobility of working wherever you want.
Yeah, I think you might have actually heard me scream before we started to my kid, no gaming, no streaming, because I'm recording, right?
Yes.
That's the reality that we lived in for the past year. And, you mentioned smartphones, you all mentioned smartphones and the relationship between smartphones and PCs. And so I wanted to go to Alex for a second. And it's funny how often it seems that it's a war, right, between the PC and the smartphone. And if one wins, the other one is losing. And I really don't think about it that way. But there's a lot that we as users love about the experience on the smartphone that we want to have replicated on the PC. What are some of the learnings, Alex, from your perspective as a leader in the smartphone business that you want to bring into the PC world?
Yeah, first and foremost, you have the cellular connectivity, so you cut cords and you can go anywhere. And naturally, the smartphone is designed throughout its whole system is designed for low power. And some of the smartphones today are very high performance. However, all of those aspects can get applied to the PC. So the portability of the PC being lightweight, not having a need for replenishing your battery every 2 or 3 hours, having all-day battery life, being able to, you're working all day on the PC. When the day's over, people might even start streaming video to the PC and watching content on there, which is perfectly normal. And you want to be able to do it outside of your office. You want to be able to do it everywhere. So the importance of video conferencing, streaming video, audio clarity, battery life, portability, connectivity, security are all getting applied from the smartphone into the PC. And I think more and more functions are going to start to come in. And there'll be multiple applications on AI. Today we have real-time translation, both on text and in voice on the smartphone, which I think would be very influential and necessary on the PC side, because you're doing video conferencing with multiple different countries and multiple different nations. Imagine if you could actually understand what they're saying, and sometimes maybe in their own voice, as AI algorithms become more sophisticated. And so therefore, I think we have many, many learnings that we can apply to the PC side, and hopefully over the next 2 or 3 years, advancing the performance and capabilities of the PC. And hence our acquisition into Nuvia, which would play a big role in the central processing unit of the PC itself, and bringing credibility in terms of performance and what the consumers and enterprise customers are used to in terms of performance and handling multiple concurrent applications. It'll be great to have that embedded into our solutions, which is going to happen over the next 2 or 3 years, alongside with the heterogeneous design that we already had, which is an integrated GPU, an integrated audio processing unit, a DSP, video processing unit, camera processing units, all of it working in concert together to have the best power dissipation and the best performance applied for a consumer. And that'll lend itself to freedom for the consumer to work anywhere with high quality capabilities.
Where do I sign up? I'm on board.
Start buying Lenovo PCs that are Windows on Snapdragon based first.
But I love what you said, because I think a lot of people still think 5G equal connectivity and end there, versus, the ability to connect to the cloud and, linking that to AI and processing and thinking about all the different ways that brings to the experience that we have. And of course, Lenovo knows this very well, Tom, because you were the first one bringing to market a 5G enabled PC. So, why did you bet so early? What are some of the learnings, and what are you thinking about from a portfolio perspective?
Yeah, no, it's again a great question, Carolina, and it's really in partnership with Qualcomm here that we have pioneered first to market 5G platforms with our Lenovo Yoga, 5G now with millimeter wave as well. And we see 5G, and really Alex and Miguel both have touched on this, as the future of the connected device, because you need a device that is always on, always connected. And that is the experience we have with our mobile phone. And so you want to transport that over to the PC at this point. And as I mentioned earlier, the PC has now become sort of the central hub and the device, the primary device we're interacting with and engaging with throughout the day. Then on the enterprise side, there's a significant security element. Because if you think about historically, You may have all of your devices on campus or on-prem, covered by a corporate Wi-Fi network, secured, patched, updated, and you've got those tools protected. Now you've got everyone is migrated out of the office to the home. So you've got a disparate network, a patched set of connections, Wi-Fi dependent. And as we open back into a hybrid model, you may have some moving back and forth from home to work and out into cafes, et cetera. So the 5G always on, always connected device maintains that connection, is not trying to connect to potentially a Wi-Fi, an unsecure Wi-Fi network. And so you've got a live, updated, living, breathing network of devices that you are constantly under your supervision and protection. So the security element is key, and we see that. And just so as you ask, why lean in on this? We see 5G is really opening the door because it brings that level of bandwidth, connectivity, and performance that's needed. So we see a growing demand, and candidly, it's an accelerated demand. We've seen, I think, coming out of this pandemic, there's been a bigger leap forward for connected devices and a higher demand for this because of the problems we've outlined here. So it's going to be a significant technology moving forward, and really an expected technology moving forward for us.
I agree with you, and it's interesting that both you and Miguel talked about security, and I remember actually some data that Lenovo published not long ago showing that employees are actually concerned about security when they're not relying on the corporate network. So this is not just something that is top of mind for the IT managers, but for the users as well. Part of looking at the future of PC is also looking at collaborations. And here I have, two key player of the PC market, Qualcomm and Lenovo. I'm curious, as you two think about, from a company perspective, working together, what are some of the things that are either a priority or that you're looking forward doing more in? What aspects either of the features or maybe market segment?
I think as we look at the market has got many different segments and different things. And, I think it's important. We talked about a lot of capabilities, AI, connectivity, performance, camera. It's how do we bring those capabilities to more users and more markets? There's premium devices, there's mainstream devices, and there's, lower tier devices, and there's education devices. There's all kinds of markets. And we think it's important that when you bring some of these innovation and capabilities and working with partners like Lenovo, who know these markets really well, know this customer base really well, how do you bring some of these capabilities to some of these other markets? Education is an important one. We've seen over the past year, education has changed. Everybody needs a PC to do, schooling of some sort. And I don't think most schools were ready for this, and it showed the lack of technology in schools and connectivity. It's become a big problem. So if you look at all the things we're doing, we think that it's going to help tremendously in some of these markets like education, not just the commercial and the consumer markets with higher-end devices, but across all price points and all tiers. And education devices need to be smart. They need to be capable. They need to have great performance. And, Lenovo
and
knows this.
And they need to be affordable, right?
And they need to be affordable. And there's no reason why affordable doesn't mean it's good. It's one of the things that, as Qualcomm, as we look at this market, is how we bring capabilities, from top to bottom, and have some of those capabilities go across all tiers of products.
Just to add to that from Miguel's perspective. So, we've been working very closely in partnership with Qualcomm on driving not only the embedded modems that can bring connectivity to devices and cascading that top to bottom, but also expanding the experiences into the portfolio as well. So it's not just a premium discussion when we're talking about microphone improvements, camera improvements, AI enhancements and capabilities, and then connectivity, but it's also putting that into the education devices as we look at one-to-one deployments candidly worldwide. And it's absolutely critical that we have that capability in an affordable perspective, because that helps us bridge the digital divide. It's been abundantly clear this past year that as we've moved to home, and especially as we moved our students to the homes, that we've got to have the connected, appropriate, PC performance devices in the home so they can maintain digital content, digital learning throughout their school year. And of course, as we move back into a hybrid model, we're still going to have that need for connected devices, really top to bottom. And that's where the partnership we've had again with Qualcomm on co-engineering, co-developing platforms that we bring to market are helping us accelerate the connectivity and the AI capabilities, effectively the smartphone capabilities that we're bringing into these devices.
I love that, because I think that changes the perspective of, having mobility as a SKU to actually thinking about what it takes for a product to be connected, to be mobile, and that changes the perspective. So we talked about security, we talked about a little bit form factor, we talked about the importance of cameras and speakers. What are some of the features that over the past year have really raised in importance and you think that are going to really shape and become a critical factor in purchasing decision?
Yeah, this past year, by far and away, the focus has been on the camera. Here we are today, we're having a hybrid meeting, two of us coming in via camera live to this panel. And so that's been that was at the bottom of the list, or not the bottom, but it was near the bottom of list of consideration. And by far that's come up to the top. And it's really driven by video collaboration. These devices are becoming conference collaboration hubs. So we need to make sure that we've got great focusing cameras, great audio, microphones that can tune out the noise around us. So if we have families in the other room, dogs barking, etc., you have that capability of moving that in. And we've been focused at Lenovo for quite a few years on the microphones. So putting multiple mics across the lid that allow for beam forming, so you can tune out that noise, or open up to speakerphone capabilities as well. And then Alex mentioned the AI capabilities. So having the platform underneath that can then recognize and pick up those noises, and can recognize that you're on a conference call and enhance or improve the overall experience. And then I'd say the final piece beyond that is the software underneath it. It's not just based on hardware, but we're also working on post-processing software capabilities. So it takes in the image that's captured by the device, then up levels it, clears out the noise, improves the lighting, and then passes it through to the application that you're using, whether it's a video-based collaboration application, Teams, Zoom, BlueJeans, Meet, etc., and brings a better experience than even the hardware itself can capture. So it's a concert of what's happening underneath, across that hardware to software and out to the application. And again, working with Qualcomm, that's one of the areas that we're focused on, is leveraging and harnessing the AI capabilities of their engines to bring that better experience.
Yeah, it's interesting that you mentioned, a camera and mics, and I think sometimes people forget how much harder we need to work if these things don't work properly, right? If you have a low resolution, or if your sound is not quite right, our brain has to just make up for that low quality experience. And that is what makes us more tired when we spend maybe a whole day in meetings. Miguel, what are the features for you? And you cannot say 5G because I know that that's...
I won't say that one. But it's interesting listening to all the feedback on the things that have improved, or the things people find necessary over the past year. If you think about it, it's really, the theme is taking the best of your phone and putting it in your PC.
True.
It's audio, camera, AI, connectivity. It's all the things we have that we love about our phone. Now we're saying, hey, we'd like those things in our PC. That's sort of the theme we see along the way. And Alex said, Qualcomm's in a great position. We have these things. Historically, performance on the CPU has been, on my PC has been my CPU speed and things like that. Now it's like, how does my system behave? What is my performance of my audio, my camera? And moving forward, AI plays a big role in some of these experiences because, if we had an AI algorithm that could cancel out leaf blowers, I think we would be making a lot of money. But these things are all going to show up in AI, and that's another level of performance that hasn't been typically associated with performance, right, in a PC. Yeah. And I think you're starting to see that performance is a system thing. It's not a single thing, it's the whole system together.
But I think we need the ecosystem partner help to promote features and functions that are important from AI. Like I found in my years, it's pretty easy to promote application processor features and functions. Like I have a CPU, it has a speed associated with it. The higher, the better. Yeah. Or I have a GPU and it plays games. And I have a camera that takes great pictures. Everyone in 2 or 3 words can understand. The minute you start talking about cellular modem connectivity, you get into dBs and missed calls, and everyone loses it. But you have to be able to say, I have call clarity. You have to be able to say, I can connect from anywhere. You have to be able to say it's secure. So it's understood. AI is in the same camp, in my opinion. Like, the underlying features and functions of AI that really make a difference. People have a hard time going, what's artificial intelligence? Is it a robot? This and that. Yeah. So, but it really is, eye gaze. If you're looking down and you don't want to look rude, it'll correct your gaze. But that's an AI function that takes a lot of power these days, except on a Snapdragon device. We're relying on our ecosystem partners to pick and choose certain functions that will make sense to the consumer. And then they're going to start looking for that in a PC. Otherwise, they won't. They look for it on a phone because there are benchmarks associated with these things, and a lot of influencers will push that through to the consumer. But if we need the ecosystem partners like Lenovo to start picking out features and functions that would make best sense to their consumers, and will help promote those functions so that the consumers and even IT managers and others will look for those capabilities because it's important now.
I agree, and I know that you already fixed the eye gaze. If you can fix the eye roll, that will be very beneficial to me because I can't control myself.
Yes.
On a serious note, we are talking about the future of the PC, so it seems fitting that we end this conversation really looking at the next 2 to 3 years and start to think about what, in your opinion, are going to be the big breakthrough, the big moments that will continue to have the PC market not just grow, but be more profitable for the players that are in it, and deliver more and better performance for the users.
Our vision is that the PC is here to stay. It's gonna become more powerful. It's gonna become more secure. It's gonna become more mobile. We talked about all that stuff, but then it also has to interact with all the other smart devices that are going to be in the ecosystem. You have the smartphone, you have the smart watch, you have the smart Bluetooth headsets, you have the smart glasses, you have the smart PC, you have the smart TV, you have the smart car, and all of them have to interact. There's no reason why we can't have a bigger screen and a bigger viewing angle with smart glasses that allows us to interact with a bunch of components that are going to be in virtual or augmented reality. Lenovo's done that right now with a pair of smart glasses, and I think it'll just continue to grow from there. If you remember, from the smartphone, we got the tablet, which was a bigger screen. Now we have the screens available to us right now, then your viewing angle is going to get larger with these glasses. And so the interaction with these smart devices is super important. And like Miguel said before, we have all the pieces, and we have the software, and we're going to be working with the ecosystem to try to figure out how to connect these things in a cohesive way so that all applications can flow from one to the other. You're not going to be using all of them at the same time, obviously, but at least 3 to 4 have to interact in such a way that it's seamless between them. So that's where we're headed, from a system solution and a software environment that allows that to happen.
Tom, what are the things that you're betting on and that you think are going to continue to keep the PC market exciting and vibrant?
Yeah, well, and we've sort of touched on a lot of this throughout this discussion, but that always on, always connected is the first pillar. And we think of it as, moving these PCs into smarter and smarter experiences. And then as Alex highlighted, coexisting with your digital wardrobe, however many devices you carry and having that seamless experience. But another area I would say that's quite interesting is the intelligence of the device. So we talk about smarter PC, but having building in the predictive, proactive awareness of the device, how you're using it, what you're doing with it, how it needs to be optimized to extend the life of the battery, ramp up the performance, bring it back down. The predictive analytics of awareness of, you may have an application that's getting ready to crash or have conflict, and proactively correcting that before you need to think about it. And so, historically, if you look at the PC, it's, run it until it breaks and then I have to restart it or get it patched, get it fixed. We're now building in algorithms underneath that predict if you have failures, or predict the life cycle of drives, of memory, of battery underneath, so it's transparent to the user, so it becomes a seamless experience for you. So again, just like that always on, always connected becomes seamless, and the experience of porting the experience of the smartphone to the PC, now you pair that to that smarter, intelligent capability underneath. You've got, I think, a pretty incredible time for the PC space and the industry as we evolve into the next generation designs.
I think when you bring new technologies and capabilities to devices, those devices evolve. And if you look at the technologies and capabilities we bring into the PC, I think you will see an evolution of user experiences, form factors, some form factor evolution. And then I do think, as Tom mentioned earlier, the PC will become much more relevant in the home. If you think about the PC in the home, it's one of your highest processing capability devices in your home. And it can do more, and it'll end up being more and more integrated into your home.
I agree with you, and I love the point that you're making about how devices evolve and with the ecosystem, because I think that users have been ready to back, and do all sorts of things to fit in the smartphone in our life, but we're not giving the PC the same chance, or up until now we haven't. So I look forward to users being a bit more open and embracing more of the PC going forward. We come to the end of this very insightful conversation. Different. We are not all in the same room. I really look forward to seeing you all when it's safe to do so. And I thank you for the conversation. I thank you for continue to think about the PC market and what needs to happen to keep it interesting for all of us. And I thank the audience for coming along to this first Qualcomm Future of episode on PCs. And please keep an eye out for the next episode coming soon. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank
Good to see you,
everyone. Thank you. Nice seeing you.
Thanks.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.